IGN has completely crashed out. Oh, jeez. What's so sad about this to me is that I've gotten a lot of shit for this, but I actually think that IGN is the best one. And I think IGN is problematic. I'm not a fan of IGN with everything, but at the same time, I think the IGN is it's the best bad one, right? Wrong opinion? Well, like which group, which publication is better than IGN? I think they're better than Kotaku. I think they're better than Polygon. I think they're better than PC Gamer. I think they're better than Eurogamer. GameRanks, GameSpot. I don't really know them very well. I can't have an opinion on that. So maybe you could be right. Donkey? Yeah, true. Well, we're not considering YouTubers. I'm looking at other, like, more mainstream publications. Anyway, let's watch this. 7 out of 10.
Never did I ever think I would see the day that we would see a games journalist crash out on social media and just say...
Really? You never thought that would happen? You never... Really? You never thought?
Quiet part out loud. That they are going to reduce the scores of games in the future if those games do not align with their personal politics or their personal ideology. It's never been said until now. We live in a world with such little accountability and responsibility that what happened to professionalism? Where did it go? What happened to...
People think that their ideology is more important than professionalism, and that by fulfilling their ideology, they are achieving a higher goal. So they throw professionalism out the window because they think that they're justified to do it. That's the reason. That's what happened to professionalism.
Just doing your job. How do you not recognize that when you are in a public forum and you are using the credentials of your employer at IGN, at PC Gamer, in your bio, you are representing that company. You are using their authority that they have given to you, and you are using the engagement that has been afforded to you because of your relationship with them to go out and propagate your ideas and say these kind of things.
I think he actually brings up a really good point with this, and this is something that I agree with a lot, is that a lot of these people, they take the credibility from these companies and then they use it to enact their own worldview. And I find that to be like, that's very different than like an individual that's sharing their like personal viewpoints on social media. When they're saying that I'm going to co-opt this organization or this group that I'm a part of and then use it as a tool to push this agenda. That's a big difference.
Reflects on them. That reflects on your fellow writers. You don't care about that.
No.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't understand how people can even come to this. I don't understand how they could think that
you just live in an echo chamber of people that always agree with you and nobody ever tells you that you're wrong. So
like
simple.
This is acceptable.
Super simple.
And it makes a lot of sense as to why a lot of people don't find game journalism all that relevant anymore. Because they see that they don't respect their job, they don't respect their fellow writers, and they definitely don't respect their audience. They're constantly trying to attack them. They're pridefully admitting an abuse of power.
Yep.
They're done. It's over. They're cooked. They're crashing out. Today, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about
I feel like they're not even crashing out. I feel like they already crashed, and there's like 3 survivors in the plane crash, and every year one of the survivors lights themselves on fire. Like, that's basically where we're at.
Game journalism insanity, and why the echo chamber that this industry has built for itself is now going to be its downfall. I'm never going to run out of content. But before that, I need to thank you guys, because if it wasn't for the support that you showed during the last Displayed sponsor, well, they wouldn't have come back for a second round, and I wouldn't be able to feed my growing hunger for these texture designs. Look at this thing, dude. It is so cool. Displayed's texture designs take things to an entirely new level with tactile 3D contours and select matte and gloss finishes.
Have Elden Ring ones.
Feel the details in these. This is not just a poster. This is a piece of art. If you want to be a truly refined human being, you need to have these on your walls. I recently picked up their licensed Magic the Gathering stained glass mana symbol set, and it looks incredible. And there's so much more to choose from pop culture icons like Star Wars and Marvel to gaming franchises like Elden Ring and Warhammer. These posters are unlike anything else. And just like the classic designs, Texture uses that same easy magnet mounting system. No tools, no wall damage. You can swap them in and out whenever you want to. Plus, now they're available in larger sizes, so you can make an even bigger statement on your wall.
If you
For a limited time, you can snag Texture designs.
Here's a fun fact, a little bit of advice with displates. If you have a displate and you have an uneven surface, it's not going to be okay. You might think that it'll be okay. I thought it would be okay. Turns out it won't be. Make sure that it's an even surface.
Discount. Click the link in the description below or head to displate.com and use my code LEGENDARY at checkout to get the best deal.
I've done it myself.
This offer won't last forever, so don't miss your chance to grab some of these premium designs at an unbeatable price. Games journalism used to mean something. It was supposed to be about keeping players informed, holding developers accountable.
Do you guys remember when I fought this boss and I almost killed it on my first try, and then I proceeded to take another hour in order to kill it?
Exposing bad business practices. Back in the day, if a game sucked or it launched in a broken state, you could count on games media to tear it apart in their reviews. Heck, you were looking forward to it. That's just not the case anymore. Somewhere along the way, they just stopped working for us. Now, instead of protecting players from bad games, they're protecting bad games from players. Protecting studios and developers from their audience, or I
think that the problem is that there's been a rot that's occurred through game developers and game journalists being intermingled. And you have people that are going in between the industries, and it's causing a lot of latent corruption. And you also have a lot of these people that are interacting with each other and like that are personally friends. And I think when you have that happen, you're going to have biases. There's like a reason why judges recuse themselves from cases. And it's why I generally try to avoid covering drama around people that I'm friends with, because I would be more biased about it.
Fully switched to political propaganda. It didn't happen overnight, but the shift is undeniable. Instead of giving honest reviews, journalists have become cheerleaders for the industry and their own biases and ideologies. Not good games, not for the customers, not for the people that are supposed to be reading these articles in the first place, but for themselves and their own egos. Instead of being our voice like they used to be before, they started talking down to us, devaluing our opinion.
Gamers are terrible people, and we should stop being okay with it. Now, I wonder why they use the photo of the person that everybody says looks like me. Isn't that interesting? Like, and maybe I'm just reading too much into this, okay? Maybe I am. But man, isn't that a weird fucking coincidence? Wow. You're reaching? I know that I'm like 95% sure that I'm reaching. But I'm 5% sure that I'm not.
Teach those toxic gamers a lesson. The players are no longer customers to be informed, but they are dissidents to be educated. You've seen the headlines. You can feel the vitriol, and it's led players to believe that they're alone. They're on their own. Nobody's fighting for them. Nobody is in their corner. And those who used to be an ally, those who used to share their perspective, have tried to take control of our beloved hobby for their own self-serving goals. Outside of a handful of journalists, I've just reached the point where I cannot trust game review scores anymore. Dragon Age the Veilguard was hailed by reviewers. Black Myth Wukong was...
A 9, bro. A 9. Oh my god. How did you do that?
Character assassinated before it even released. Concord, one of the biggest flops in gaming history. Character assassinated.
Won't stop Chinese nationalist and anti-woke scales. I wonder why there was so much... it's so weird that like this Chinese thing is focused on Black Myth Wukong, but none of these places were really writing articles about Marvel Rivals. Whereas in Marvel Rivals, you have a chat system that actively suppresses conversation. In Black Myth Wukong, it's just a bunch of monkeys. So it's got nothing even to do with really Chinese nationalism. It doesn't even make sense.
Before it even released, Concord, one of the biggest flops in gaming history, had journalists saying that they couldn't wait to play more of it. While game reviews are opinions, they are a service that's provided to both the players and studios to make games better. However, over the past few years, they've begun to read more like personal manifestos than any type of critical analysis of a product. You'd be hard-pressed to find a game review today that doesn't include...
It's like, bro, in like 5 years, it's like, we can play a game. Is this a school shooter manifesto or a video game review? Man, that's going to be a fun game.
include some level of political or social political discourse, either cheerleading a game for pushing forth their beliefs or chastising the players that are saying that they don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, journalists have pretended that this bias doesn't actually exist and saying that it's just in our heads. Well, now they let the mask slip. Writer for PC Gamer and IGN, Lena Hafer, the same writer who scored Dragon Age: The Veilguard a 9 out of 10, is one of many gaming journalists that are having a hard time dealing with the 2024 election results. After the recent signing, changing the name of Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America,
this is so stupid. It's just so stupid. Really, it's ridiculous. I personally love it. No, the Gulf of America, I just think that I don't really care about that. I don't really, it is ridiculous in a way. I don't really have a strong opinion about it, to be honest. I don't have a hot take about, is the Gulf of America good or not? I don't know. But like, it's just the way that this person reacted is what's really ridiculous.
To write, I'll take a whole point off the review score of any future map games that call it the Gulf of America. You think I'm joking? You think I want to do this forever? I can start some fires on the way.
You think I want to do this forever? Like, as if this is like fucking... It's like this is like, that's what like a fucking prophet in like an old religious book would say. Do you think I want this? Like a lifelong crusade. Yes, exactly.
Out. Try to call my bluff. Nobody has ever let this amount of soft power go to their heads before, as far
as I know. What about China?
As I know. Where's the accountability and professionalism? I know that some people are going to make the argument that Lena shouldn't face any repercussions for using their freedom of speech in their off time, saying something on a public platform, but
it's totally different because they're saying that they're going to use their platform as a agent of this company in order to enact their personal worldview. That's a totally different paradigm. It's completely different. So it's not even remotely close.
You have IGN's name and PC Gamer's names in your bio. Showing
protected posts, right, exactly.
You're employed by them.
Yeah.
That's how you got your influence. That's why you have your followers. You know, in construction, we had a project manager that got fired because his company vehicle was parked outside of a gentleman's club. You may be on your free time, but when you're running around doing whatever you want, flying the flag of your employer, you are representing that employer. And it makes them look complicit in your actions.
Isn't it crazy how good this game was? For anybody who played Armored Core, it's actually insane how, like, I think all the time about how good this game was. It's cinema. It was unbelievable, man. But anyway, yeah, of course, that's true. Yeah, you take your fucking, you want to take the company car over to a fucking strip club with a bunch of hookers, then yeah, obviously you've got a problem because you're signing the company up for your problems.
I am sick of seeing developers and journalists representing their company making a fool out of their organization without any consequences.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
What is going on here? Do they not realize the irony of their soft power statement when they themselves are threatening to use their power as an industry analyst?
Yeah, they're the ones that are using the soft power. Yeah, it's so weird whenever you think about that. And I think also, like, it's the same thing that I said with Avowed. I think that Avowed was like a very middle-of-the-road average, pretty decent game. But there was so much unnecessary criticism and negativity that was leveraged at Obsidian, and I think rightfully so, for employing a person who was actively racist. And so, like, I wonder if these people that are these, you know, revolutionaries, I wonder if they ever realize, like, am I hurting other people whenever I say and do these things?
To penalize and attempt to reduce the sales and impacts of games to hold companies accountable to their self-imposed purity test for something that is now legally named the Gulf of America. These journalists never take the time to self-reflect. They are so...
and it's also, it's just so stupid. It's such a stupid thing to care about. Like, I can understand somebody who's like, you know, you're mad about, like, the way, I don't know, like, for example... Like, you are not willing to sell, like, you don't want a game to, let's say, ignore a genocide, right? Or something like that. Or have, like, some level of historical inaccuracy that's propaganda. I think that's fair. But, like, this is the name of a fucking ocean, basically, of a body of water. It's not even a big deal.
captured by their own ego and main character syndrome that they are oblivious to the consequences of their actions or how it reflects on their employers. When a games journalist just openly admits that they would punish a game based on their own personal beliefs rather than the actual quality of the product, it confirms exactly what players have suspected for years. Yeah. Game reviews are no longer about games. They're about pushing narratives, exerting influence, and trying to control the industry. No.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. And that's exactly why, like, if you look at games journalism, it is, I would say, less than 1/10 of what it was 10 years ago. That's exactly what it was. This person should be fired. If I was IGN, I would fire them. Because they're using your platform in order to push their political agenda. Like, I would get them the fuck out. Because and fundamentally because it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful for you to think that you're going to come into this company and then use it as a tool to push your worldview.
No wonder they lost their minds when Black Myth Wukong developers wouldn't respond to their allegations because they need that power. They need that influence. Yeah. They can't have these developers that are stepping out of line. This isn't about one writer having a meltdown.
The Black Myth Wukong thing was very simple. So this is the way that media works, and it's the way that it's kind of like the media racket, where what they do is they assign some sort of problem to a person, or they create a problem, or they identify a problem, and then they basically appoint themselves as the solution or the level of accountability to that problem. So this is why media creates these issues, is because the issues necessitate the media. But if you don't pretend that the issues exist, then the media doesn't need to exist either.
On Twitter, this is an entire framework of modern gaming media. These journalists are trying to shape public perception, to influence sales, and to try to determine exactly what games are considered acceptable to them. And while their relevance is waning, it's still there. And if they're willing to dock points on a review for something as trivial as developers following a legal name change, what else are they willing to manipulate? It opens the door wide to every conspiracy theory under the sun, and it leads me to believe that their beliefs are exactly what have ruined games today. Maybe this is why so many games feel the same, why studios...
I think it is. I am a very much a believer of usually the simplest and the dumbest thing that you can imagine is probably the exact reason why something is happening. No one calling that shit Gulf of America? All right. All right, bro. Like, all right. I am.
Prioritize ideology over creativity, and why we have felt that our needs aren't being met or understood. Because once game reviews stopped being about informing players and started being about teaching lessons, they ceased to be reviews at all. They became propaganda, a system used to exert influence over a medium. How many times have you guys heard, oh, those toxic gamers believing that we're trying to control the industry, ruin their games? You wonder why people don't respect you when you don't respect the intelligence of your audience. You don't even respect your audience at all. Heck, you don't even respect your own coworkers for that.
You don't respect your employee. You don't respect anyone.
Matter when you act like this, when you say things like this. You wonder why you're losing relevance. You are ruining your own industry. You're deleting your own job.
They are.
You know, not long ago, I made a video that was titled, "These game developers are ruining their games." And in it, I showcased a bunch of different interactions of game developers talking down or attacking their audience, espousing their ideologies, political ideologies, social political ideology, whatever it might be, and crashing out, making themselves look like a fool, and by extension, making their employer look like a fool.
What makes people not buy the game? Yeah.
That same issue is happening in games journalism today, if not worse.
True.
What's the saying? Don't talk politics or religion in polite company. That's professionalism. I am here because I'm trying to buy a commercial product.
Yeah, I've always found it to be odd that people say that, because I remember at the government, ironically, we used to sit around. There was like me and like 4 other dudes, and we would just sit around because obviously it was the government, so nobody was working. And so like after like the, you know, like the surge of documents is like kind of over, we're just sitting around for like, you know, 5 hours a day doing nothing. And I remember like one day One day I asked if we were going to be able to have overtime today, whenever it was like 12, because I clocked out at like 12. And I'm like, can I stay till 4 and you guys keep paying me? And like the manager just like got up and just shut the door in my face. He just didn't want to talk to me. He's like, just get the fuck out of here. And like, to be fair, I was doing it to be annoying. I was. But like, it's just how it is. Go the fuck on me. Get the fuck out of here. No, and I gotta pay you another $50, $100 for this. Costing us millions? Yes. And we used to always talk about politics, and there were never any problems. Nobody ever got mad about this stuff at all. I think it's people that can't control themselves that need the world to be bubble wrapped so they don't end up getting themselves hurt, which is very annoying.
For force feeding information to me that I don't want, nor am I interested in. You know, I talked about this where when the Avowed director started screeching at Elon Musk online,
oh, God.
I lost interest in a game that I was otherwise really excited for.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to Avowed. Not anymore. Because why would I be? If you're this unprofessional and messy on a public platform, using your employer's name that's attached to it, using the influence that company gave you to talk about these things and act that way, well, why would I think that you would be professional at your job? Better yet...
It's a good question. It's a great question. Yeah, if you act like a goofball everywhere else, you probably act like a goofball here too. True.
If you're that ideologically captured, that likely means it's going to reflect directly into your game. And guess what? I don't want to pay to be propagandized.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I think people also just don't want to be talked down to, and they don't like being insulted. They don't like being treated like they are the unwashed masses, etc. And I think that when you don't respect the intelligence of your audience, even if you think your audience isn't intelligent, you do lose out on a lot of people.
It's the same for games journalism as it is for games. I do not want to pay you with my attention to be propagandized. I'm here for a critical opinion about a video game so I can make a smart purchase.
Imagine that.
That's what I'm here for.
Wow.
But the only thing that they have continued to do year over year is prove that that is not what they're here to do. They are here to change your mind. Yep. By now, it should be clear to just about anyone that games journalism isn't about covering games anymore. They have tried to shape the industry itself. They don't just report on trends, they are trying to create them. They don't just review games, they want to define what is acceptable for game developers to make. And worst of all, they reinforce each other's narratives to make sure that no dissenting voices can get through. This is how the gaming media echo chamber...
Yeah, they create a set of criteria that everybody else has to adhere to, and then they basically create a cartel with other people that are in the same area as them, and then they try to adhere to this by creating like a apparatus that everybody believes and acts this same way. And this is the same reason why they don't like YouTubers and content creators on Twitch, like me, for example, is that we provide a window around that apparatus. We're not part of the apparatus, and so we put them at risk, basically. Yeah, monopolize the flow of information. Yes.
Chamber works.
And by the way, the Oscars does this. I think that the government does this. I think that the mainstream media does this. This is not something that is... The reason why I talk about games media is because it's a microcosm of something that is present in a lot of other places as well. It's like one of the easiest examples that you can use, but it's not necessarily the only one.
Operate as independent critics or journalists. They function as a collective, a hive mind of right think, a singular voice for people.
I would use a different word that starts with C. I would say cartel. This is a cartel. These are people that are collectively trying to, push some sort of agenda and negatively impact people financially if they don't follow that agenda. And it's not enough that they think that, it's that everybody else around them thinks that.
meaning the same talking points, pushing the same perspectives, and shutting down any form of real discussion.
They're in every
Dragon
industry?
Age: The Veilguard is a return to form for BioWare. A return to form for BioWare. A return to form for BioWare. Gone are the days when gaming outlets had distinct voices, perspectives, and approaches. Today, almost every major gaming site feels the same. The reason? Well, most of these guys are owned by the same corporate entities, staffed by the same writers, and beholden to the same ideological framework.
Yep.
Ziff Davis owns IGN, GameIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, and VG247. Geo Media owns Kotaku, The Verge, Gizmodo, and Deadspin. Future PLC owns PC Gamer, Games Radar Plus, and Tech
I'm not going to complain about this either. I feel like all of these companies, like, people are complaining like, oh, it's being monopolized. It's been monopolized. Everybody has the same opinions. Like, you could just combine every single publication into one, and there would be no real difference in messaging. It would all be the same.
Radar. When the same few corporations own nearly all of the biggest gaming sites, you don't get any real diversity of thought. You get a unified, self-reinforcing narrative. That's why our needs are never understood or met, because we do have a diversity in opinion. When players say something along the lines of, "we don't want politics in games," they purposefully misinterpret that and start writing articles like, "Metaphor ReFantazio's success is further proof that politics are good in games." Actually, no matter what reactionaries tell you.
Jesus Christ. It's so stupid that it's actually sad. And do you want to know what the really funny thing about it is? The funny thing is that one of the stories and one of the undertones of Metaphor, and I apologize if I'm spoiling a little bit, but I hope that I hope that this won't be, is that the utopia that is apparently that's like being tried for is something that previously existed but wasn't as perfect as people had imagined it. So, like, all of the high-minded ideas and everything were subverted by that at the very end of the what do you call it? Of the story. So again, this is the same, and what I find to be funny about this is that this is the second self-report that we've had, because the first self-report was that Black Myth Wukong didn't have any women in it. And this is the second self-report. Now, what do I mean by self-report? I mean that you didn't finish the game. You didn't play it. Because if you had played the entirety of Black Myth Wukong, you would know that there are a number of women in the story, and they play a large role in the story going forward after about like Act 3 or so. But if you didn't play the game and you played it for 5 hours, then you wouldn't know that. It's the same thing as Metaphor. Because in Metaphor, that realization that doesn't happen until like the last 5 hours of the game, basically. Even, I think, less. The Wukong Review said they only played Act 2? Yeah.
You know, hell, I never even covered this, but IGN wrote a 2024 election breakdown and how your vote could impact video games.
Let me guess that one way or another, Trump is the person not to vote for if you like video games. Let me guess.
Presented itself as unbiased. It folded immediately under any scrutiny, and showed exactly which way they were trying to sway their audience. Tell me, why is a video game journalist and gaming outlet trying to tell me how to vote? Better yet, did IGN even...
I actually don't find a problem with that. I think that in any sort of an enthusiast magazine, obviously enthusiast magazines are going to cover how different political and social topics affect that enthusiasm. And I think it's completely okay. The problem isn't that they discuss politics. The problem is that they do it in a one-sided way that's inauthentic and inaccurate and biased. That's actually the problem.
Write this because they didn't even actually attribute this to a single writer. They just said this was written by staff. Look at how often they inject the same political opinions into video games where the discussion doesn't even belong. The players do not care about these things. Only they do. And God, are they obsessed with Elon Musk? Elon Musk branded right-wing Karen. Why is Elon Musk lashing out at games for being too woke?
I wonder why.
Elon Musk somehow became the top-ranked Diablo 4 player in between cheerleading for Donald Trump. Then we watch as they unilaterally turn around and start bashing game designers and developers for making decisions that clash with their ideology. When Dragon Quest III designers mentioned that they didn't like the removal of gendered characters in the game's...
Oh my god. I forgot all about this. Holy shit. Yes. So they had an interview with two of these fucking like 60 or 70-year-old Japanese guys that made Dragon Quest and a lot of old JRPGs. And they were like asking them questions about these topics. And then these guys are like, yeah, all that stuff is like really stupid. Like body type A and B. Like, what does that even mean? I don't even understand it. Yeah, the West really wants to do a lot of weird stuff. And we just try to do what makes sense to us. And everybody was like super happy about it. They deleted the entire video. It got taken off the internet. The only way you can watch it probably is through my React. Didn't they end up issuing a statement saying the translation was misinterpreted? Yeah, they did. And then 15 other people went back and they said, no, it wasn't. Yeah, no, it was not.
Remake, outlets called them weird for even mentioning it or caring because it's so normalized nowadays. When Lords of the Fallen's publisher polled their audience, they asked them if they wanted to keep body type A and B or go back to male and female. They changed it based on the audience's vote. PC Gamer then says they are embracing the fear of the DEI boogeyman. This isn't journalism, this is narrative management. Where is the diversity in thought? Where's the critical thinking? Why is it a creative freedom when developers make something that aligns with what journalists have for their own personal ideologies and the players don't like, yet it's fear-mongering and hateful when they choose to do something different?
I wonder why.
And this has gone unabated for so long because nobody's holding them accountable.
I think that people do hold them accountable. And the thing is that they do get held accountable. And as time goes on, that accountability becomes less and less and less. And that's the problem. Like, if I was, I'm very much an antisocial person. But if I could clone myself and then put myself in charge of this, I think that I could make a publication website that would be a lot better than this, than what they do. Because I think that I think that print media in general is basically a dying media. And it's a dying media because the people that are using it are killing it. They're actively killing it by trying to extract as much influence out of it as possible without trying to put any value into it at all. So they're trying to basically like take control over places, like publications, and then use them as effectively a loudspeaker for the way that they view the world. Hire me. Guys, I just got out of fucking like 15 different entanglements with different fucking companies. The last thing I want to do, I would be fine with being an advisor, or like, if you want me to build the machine, I can build the machine. I just don't want to run it. Okay? Would you work for Doge? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. If I could stream it. Only if I could stream it.
Nobody's pushing back on them other than the players. They've created this self-sustaining system where journalists just prop up each other's careers, reinforcing the same narrative and shutting out dissenting voices. That's the reason why you always see them citing one another in their articles. They're effectively...
And then this is also another really good point here, is that why Kotaku was right to go public when they were blacklisted by two big video game publishers. This is actually something that I agree with, and I think that nobody should be blacklisted at all. I don't think anybody should be denied a review copy, even if their opinions are regressive or stupid. And unfortunately, that also includes people that I disagree with and who I think are regressive and stupid. But the problem is that when these people create an environment that's so unpleasant and so dishonest, you have people that are celebrating effectively access journalism and corporate censorship. We've created a world where access journalism and corporate censorship like this is considered a good thing, which I find to be very dangerous.
Voices. That's the reason why you always see them citing one another.
That's why you're the fairest of them all, and the most humble, and the most modest. Yes, that's true.
In their articles. They're effectively retweeting and reposting the same websites to flood the internet with their beliefs and their ideas. It's the same thing that you're seeing happening on Reddit right now. They keep posting, flooding the timelines to make it look like their opinion is the dominant one, when in reality, they're just trying to drown out everybody else.
Reddit is so bad right now. It's so fucking bad. It's actually insane. And the thing is that I would almost want to like really try to go and take over Reddit. But the problem is that you can't do it because the admins will just ban you. Like if we could make a movement to like really create a counterculture on Reddit to like push back against some of the crazy agenda driven, like just insane shit that's written on there, then I would do it. But the problem is that the admins of Reddit, the people that are actually running the show, they agree with it and they enable it. So it's like, I'm not going to play a rigged game.
That's what's helped created this facsimile of power, and it's arguably created such a hostile environment for players and developers. And I would argue that's what's led to so many games being ruined over time. Developers believe that the media has influence. At least that's what it looks like to them. That's why you always hear them.
This is actually a very good, I don't know if he's going to bring this up, but so a really great example of this is the CEO of Ubisoft. He said, I don't know why our games aren't doing well. The Metacritic scores from the critics said that our games were an 83. So you have these, like, so it's, I don't know what's going wrong. And it's like the game has an 83 and then the audience rating is like a 3.8 or something like that. It's like, oh my God. It's terrifying. Blind ass motherfucker, out of touch? Yeah. They completely don't understand the problem.
Talk about how happy they are that games reviewed well before they even ever talk about how the players like the game. Honestly, that's more of a call sign for me to know that the game probably isn't any good. I think that we've had years of games being made for journalists rather than the players because there has always been this unspoken threat. If your game doesn't align with our worldview, well, then we're probably going to dock points from you.
Exactly. And I think that this threat was exercised in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, and it was also exercised in Black Myth Wukong. I think those are two examples of it happening. And I think the inverse was exercised in something like Concord and also in Dragon Age Veilguard.
Studio doesn't play nice, well, then we're going to write negative stories about you. If you refuse to engage with us, well, then we're going to have to create
this is also another thing, too, is like, you guys know this with me. Even when people are rude to me, I still try to provide fair coverage and fair viewpoints to them. Even if it's somebody who I don't like or who's been like hostile to me, I always try to be fair. These people don't even try.
Type of controversy around you, even if none exists. Think about how this shapes the games that we get. Why do so many AAA games feel the same? Well, because the devs are designing the game with critics in mind, not the players. Why do games increasingly have corporate-approved political messaging? Well, that's because journalists will punish them if the game doesn't include it. Why do so many devs...
I know everybody didn't like Black Myth Wukong, but to say that it was a 6 out of 10 game... I don't know about that one. I just don't know about that one.
Grovel and apologize at the first sign of controversy. Well, because they know gaming media will not give them a fair shot otherwise. The funny thing is, this is what has become a deciding factor when it comes to whether or not a game does well or it doesn't. The games that ignore the media, they are the ones that are finding success. The studios that haven't, the people that still believe the media holds power and influence, well, they're creating games for a non-existent audience.
Like Ubisoft.
I think it's developed a creative wasteland where developers are walking on eggshells, forced to cater to a small group of ideologically aligned journalists, and they're making games for them rather than the people that actually buy their games in the first.
And the way that you solve this problem is that, and by the way, do you see how Armored Core's graphics are not insanely high fidelity at all? You can't see any sort of like damage on Balteus here or anything like that. It's just a really good quality game with a great art direction and great basic art design. Yeah. Gameplay first. Distinct, it's amazing. Yeah. The way that you go against this is that you create alternative forms of media that push an agenda that basically eclipses the existing one. Because companies are going to have to go somewhere in order to get community feedback or to get any sort of feedback about their game. So the best thing for you to do is for you to create another platform that you can effectively cancel out and suppress the platform that is pushing the agenda that you disagree with, like me. That's actively what I try to do. You're 100% right. Like, my perspective is that I'm not always like a high roader. I am with some things, but I also realize that in order to win a game, sometimes you have to play the game.
First place. This is why games feel less daring, less risky, and more formulaic. It's because these people with their soft power in gaming don't reward creativity. They reward compliance. For many years, gaming journalists held a very privileged position within this industry. They were the gatekeepers, the tastemakers. They could make or break a game by covering it. They could promote them.
And now they're mad because now it's us that do it. So it's not that this power has been given back to the people. In a way it has, but it's also just been given back to the it's been given to a different group.
And they were the ones that brought them to an audience. They could dictate who was worthy of praise and what was destined to fail. They could control the flow of information, shape public perception, and for a time, it worked. Developers listened to them and players trusted them, but that trust is gone. Not because of gaming journalism as a whole, but because of a toxic few that have compromised their integrity, built an echo chamber, and alienated the very people that they're supposed to serve.
I think that a lot of people also have taken part of this and allowed it to happen too. It's not just the people that were doing it. There was a lot of passive compliance and people that kind of, carried water for it to justify it and say that it was okay, even though they didn't necessarily participate in it themselves. And, like you could say, like, okay, that's guilt by association. It's not fair. Like, yeah, you're kind of right. But I mean, it wasn't fair what they were doing either.
Reporting for the audience, they started reporting for each other. Instead of informing the players, they started lecturing them. Instead of reviewing games, they started enforcing ideological purity tests. And the result, a slow, painful collapse. Website traffic is dropping every year. Social media engagement is shrinking. The only thing that's keeping some of these sites afloat is the ad revenue that they're getting from monetizing game trailers on YouTube. But even
talking about IGN. That's what IGN does.
That's starting to slip as publishers are starting to cut out the middleman and just post it directly to their own channels. Players don't need gaming journalists anymore. They've ruined that relationship with their own egos. They watch YouTubers who actually engage with the games. They follow Twitch streamers whose reactions are real and not scripted. They find independent reviewers on Substack or Patreon who aren't beholden to corporate interests. The media doesn't dictate the conversation anymore. The players do. More game developers are starting to make games for players, not critics. More Eastern studios are breaking into the global market, immune to Western media's influence. More publishers are starting to realize...
Yeah, that's my favorite part about this, is that, like, I remember there was, like, one of these interviews with Black Myth Wukong, and they asked some, like, weird question about gender stuff, and, like, the Chinese people didn't even really understand it. They were like, okay, I don't know... Next. Yeah, what next? I don't know what this is. Yeah.
The power of reviews is diminishing and word of mouth is king.
Weird question, neither do we. Yeah.
They can scream, they can cry, they can double down on their activism and their echo chambers. It won't matter. The audience is gone, and these outbursts that we're seeing from the IGN writer are only pushing the audience further away. Their influence is shrinking, and the future of gaming belongs to the people who actually care about games, not the people that are trying to spend all their time controlling them. If you're a games journalist and you made it to this part of the video, I highly doubt that's the case.
You're very upset right now. Your blood pressure is at least 170.
I don't think any of them actually watched.
Yep.
The only time I've ever seen them talk about me is when they put me next to Asmongold because he reacted to one of my videos or something like that. And they're like,
that's right. That's what happens. Is so, like, he makes a video, I react to the video. All of the journalists have a meltdown because of my reaction. And it's like, it's crazy because, like, the same thing happened with Elon. Like, I react to the video, I get kicked off the gaming fucking group in X, I get unverified. Meanwhile, fucking Quinn doesn't even have anything happen. It's insane.
I'm not talking about all of you. I think there are some great writers and some great journalists that are out there, and there's a toxic few that have taken control, and they have ruined the entire industry for you. I love Eric Kane's work over at Forbes. There's a ton of articles of his that I completely disagree with, and a bunch of them that I really agree with, but it's the way that things are framed, and it's never trying to preach to an audience, and it's never the same voice that you hear from so many other outlets. The same thing goes, I've been really enjoying the work of Casey DeFreitas, works at IGN. She's been covering Monster Hunter Wilds, doing an incredible job. On topic, relevant, informational, a Monster Hunter veteran that is talking about their experience with Monster Hunter Wilds and covering the game and doing a fantastic job at doing it. Yeah. And it's exactly what players are coming to you guys for. This is what we want. This is what we want more of. And if you did more of that, well, you'd see quite a big bump in engagement and just people genuinely enjoying your content. But you have a circle. You have a cabal. You have a bunch of narcissistic and
also a lot of the articles written are written by theater kids. There are people that think that they're clever with the way that they use language, but they're actually just stupid. They're stupid, and it's hard to communicate with them. Yeah, the retards. Yeah, it's people that are like slightly above average intelligence that think that they have the right to talk down to everybody because of that. And so they use words and language that are like slightly above like what the average education is. And they forget that their goal is to communicate, not to show off the words that they know or some sort of like literary technique that they're using.
Statistical writers that are out there that believe that they have the right to impose their beliefs,
professional
not
Redditors.
only on the industry, not only on the games, but also on the audience. And they're doing it at the cost of their credibility, their peers' credibility, and the credibility of the entire industry. And that's the reason why there are so many issues with games journalism today. It's the reason why people just don't want to pay attention to it. And by the way, I'm not going to pretend like there aren't issues with some of the more right-leaning media that's out there as well, okay? Because I've seen...
The only thing that's good about... The problem is that people project themselves as being unbiased, and then they're biased. That's the problem. A lot of the right-leaning media, like if you go to InfoWars, you know that you're going to get a specific opinion. If you go to Hassan's stream, you know that you're going to get a specific opinion. But if you're looking at trying to find out what's really fucking going on, you're not going to be going to either one of those places. In a lot of cases, you're going to be looking at where's an article that's going to show me the facts of what happened and give me the fairest shake on it in a very even-handed way.
Seen some of the articles that have been posted. You would think that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was Dragon Age the Veilguard Part 2. It's fucking embarrassing.
It was embarrassing.
I want to be critically clear about something, and I think this is probably the most important thing to bring up here.
I'm the least biased.
Is that I don't include my personal politics in videos. One, because I don't really have any, to be honest. Like, politics just don't really interest me all that much. It just bores the shit out of me. Oh, they affect you. I know. I play video games. I'm here to talk about video games. I'm here to talk about games that I love and talk about games that I hate. I'm here to talk about news that I find relevant or something that I'm interested in or something that makes me angry. This is my confessional booth, okay? Yeah. I get cathartic relief from writing essays and making videos and doing those kind of things. I am here to provide a service. I do not lose sight of that. I am a content creator that is making content to be consumed by you for your entertainment or for your insight or whatever it might be. That's it. That's as far as this relationship goes. I don't need to teach you nothing. I don't need to make you be something. I don't need to change the world. I'm just here having a good time.
This is the thing, is like you got too many Redditors, man. You got these Redditors and revolutionaries that are sitting there on Blue Sky that are trying to write these articles to like make people look bad because they don't see the world the same way that they do. And I think that there's a lot of just average people that see that, and it's like, this is so weird. It's fucking cringe. It's annoying. Why does anybody want to see that? Are you not the same thing? No, I think that I think that I'm very fair. I legit, let's talk about that afterwards.
Needs to be. And I think the vast majority of the industry and a lot of these writers have completely lost sight of that. And instead, well, they just think it's a vehicle to drive whatever their ideology is. And that's what they've been using it for. They've hijacked the industry to use it for that purpose. And that's a problem. And it's the same in games as it is in games journalism.
And in politics, because and in every other form of media.
Your stance, this is not your place to make a stance.
This is like, remember how movies said, like, some of these, like, you know, shows like that Velma show or Ghostbusters 2016 or that Witcher Netflix show, Blood something. All these shows were good. The Acolyte. All of these shows, it's the exact same in other media too.
Ideology or your political leanings or whatever it might be. These are commercial products. This is a service. This is a product and service industry. We are buying video games, and then we are going to somebody else to hear about those games or to understand them better or to have them reviewed or whatever it might be. You're the quality control. Journalists are the quality control, but that service isn't being served.
They're the quality enforcement now.
That's a problem. You know, call me a traditionalist, call me a prude, but when I see people like Lena go out on social media and say shit like that,
if you're going to deduct points from a game because they use the Gulf of America, but you're not going to deduct points from a game and write articles about games that are made in China that actively suppress conversations about genocides and different types of cultural appropriation, or sorry, not appropriation. That's the one that doesn't matter. Cultural oppression. And nobody should take you seriously at all. Really. Like nobody, like you've automatically disqualified yourself from any sort of opinion that has any weight at all. Like if you really think that the Gulf of America has even 1/100th of the impact of Chinese games coming out that prevent you from saying the words Taiwan, it's a level of delusion and hypocrisy that I think even the most reasonable and uninformed person can immediately see. That was crazy. Yeah, it was.
The lack of professionalism just really bothers me. Like, I feel like people really crave that. It's not even crave. I think people expect it. They don't expect people in positions of authority to act like that. And when you're a game reviewer, you are in a position of authority because you do, in a way, shape the discussions around these games. You shape the reception of those games. And you ultimately will shape the destiny of some of these studios in some cases. While, yeah, I know game reviewers aren't as relevant as they were, you know, many years ago. Thank God for that. They do still have some relevance. Not as much as before.
Yeah, too bad.
Heck of a lot less now. But, yeah. Anyway. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, found it useful in any way, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, comment down below. Follow me on Twitch. The link is down below. And I think that's all I can remember. Anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
There it is.
Family, 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 family.
Do you think game reviewers will ever be able to recover as a whole? No. I think that once an ideology like this encapsulates a group of people, I think that it is impossible to get rid of them. And I think that the only way that you can get rid of them is to completely remove it and start over. It's like an infection. You have to cut the entire thing out. That's what I would say. You're spamming? I know I am spamming. Give the video a like. I totally fucking agree with the video. I absolutely do. And I think that every single time that person, that Lena, wherever the fuck it is, person writes an article about a game made in China, I feel like if they ever give it anything more than a 1, people should absolutely go fucking ballistic. Because you have a game that... And also, every single company, you have to keep in mind, every single company in China has a connection to the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party. And it's mandatory, right? It's not like this is just incidental. It's a mandatory connection. And so when I see people like that, I see like a level of hypocrisy that is just absolutely insulting. And it's insulting to the intelligence of everyone. Yeah, there's the video right there. But anyway, I've been trying, like, I think that I am very unbiased. Personally, I think I'm very unbiased. And if people think that I'm not, I'm curious to hear why. But I think that as much as I can be, I try to be fair. And more than anything,